Spring training. Saturday rolled around and Lucy was all ready for spring training. She loved athletics, and most of all she loved it when she was out on the track running with the wind in her hair, or in the middle of the stadium throwing something more exciting than a medicine ball. Winter training indoors bugged the heck out of her. She woke early, showered, and climbed into her gym gear. She packed her tracksuit, towel, and water bottle and put her gym bag in the hall next to the door to the garage. She put her shoes on top, then raced back to make sure her father was awake. Martin had the wonderful task of accompanying his daughter to training. When the events weeks finally came, Xena would join them. But for now it was all Dad's chore. He was already up and dressed when she arrived. She sat on the bed next to her mother and stroked her arm. "Sorry to wake you. You can go back to sleep once we've gone," Lucy said in her best apologetic tone. "That's okay, darling. I hope you didn't wake Adam," added Xena, sounding concerned for her boy. "Oh. He's awake. He swore at me when I forgot to shut the door to the bathroom." "Lucy. How many times have I told you?" Yeah. "Shut the door or Adam will come and perv on my ass. Not that I care." "Lucy. Hush, Mom. I'm kidding. Now go back to sleep." Xena lay there and closed her eyes. Little did Lucy know that Adam might be looking at a different ass in a few minutes. In a faint sleepy voice Xena spoke. "Have a great time at training." Xena, and Adam in his room, both listened as Lucy and Martin departed in the car. So did Luke and Sam. Once they were gone, Luke got up and tiptoed to the kitchen for a drink. He was standing there, silent, as Adam made the journey across the hall. Safely inside his mother's room, he locked the door and quietly walked to the side of her bed. She had been awake since the athletics squad had left, and he had taken the opportunity to remove the well-worn singlet and panties she normally slept in. She went to her dresser and found similar bedclothes. Newer ones, without sweat and pussy stains. Lying in bed now, she swept back the covers and invited her son to join her. "Come give you Mom a nice cuddle," she whispered. Adam climbed into the bed next to his mom. He was wearing boxer shorts, pushed out at the front by a very obvious boner. They lay there, face to face, in each other's arms. Adam's erection was poking his mother in the belly. "Sorry about the..." he started, then trailed off. "That's okay, son. I remember you used to come and give me cuddles a few years ago. You used to poke me in the stomach back then too. Did you stop because of the boners?" "Yeah. I was worried you'd think I was a freak. Getting boners while I cuddled my mom." "Son. Most boys, once they reach that age, get an erection if they cuddle anyone. You're not a freak, you're a boy. And boys get hard-ons." Xena took her hand and slid it down between them. In one fluid and very practiced maneuver, she slid it under the elastic of his boxers and wrapped her fingers around his rock-hard cock. He gasped a little at the sudden feel of her hand on his member. "How long since you last emptied this thing?" she quizzed. "Last night." "Late. I think you are so juiced up right down that you would blow if I just talked about pussy. Correct?" "Yes. Probably." "Okay. Lay back and let me fix this the way I wanted to fix it that night last week," she ordered. Xena threw back the covers and pushed her son flat on his back. She crouched near his hips and took his boxers in both hands. "Lift," she ordered. Adam lifted his hips and his mother had his boxers around his knees before he could blink. A second later they were over his ankles and gone. She knelt there for a while, stroking his tool with one hand, milking him, wetting his shaft with his juice. Then as he watched, chin on his chest, she pulled his cock up until it was pointing to the ceiling and went down on him. "My God," he thought. "My cock is in her mouth, Mom's mouth. Her hand is pumping me." Oh. It didn't last long. Xena was correct. Her boy was so juiced up he came in her mouth in less than 30 seconds. "I'm sorry," said the boy, in a sad voice. "For what? Coming so quickly?" "Ha! Nonsense. You lasted ages. 6 days is a long time to wait." That was lesson 1. Anticipation. The boy thought back to the same word his mother had used in his room that night. "In your room I let you imagine what might be waiting for here, now. You must have masturbated several times since then, but each time, what were you thinking? What was your fantasy? Being here, now. Having you touch me." And after 6 days of jacking off, did the fantasy, the passion get stronger or weaker? Stronger. Then I'm surprised you lasted 30 seconds. I half expected you to cream your pants when I put my hand inside. Xena paused, Then with a swipe of her hand across her mouth, "Oh, and thank you for breakfast." She gave her son a cheeky grin and was pleased when he responded in kind. It only then sank in. "Mom just swallowed a big load of my cum. Holy cow. Now I guess you want to see me naked?" she asked, probing. "Yes, and no." "No?" Xena was puzzled. "I'm enjoying the view I have right now," the boy answered, with a cheeky grin of his own, staring at her chest. Xena looked down and saw that the blowjob had made her just as roused as the boy. Her nipples were hard and erect and pushed two lovely peaks in her singlet. Xena's nipples rose about an inch from the round of her breast, half thick nipple, half as a raised conical areola. "Well spotted. Finders keepers," she replied, thrusting her breasts further forward. Adam sat, cross-legged in front of his mother and reached for her protruding nipples. He stopped an inch away. "Are you sure?" he asked, tentatively. "Adam, darling boy, I just gave you a blowjob." "Yes. I'm sure, and don't ever ask again." The boy reached out with both hands and took his mother's nipples between thumb and fingers. He rolled them, squeezed them a little, rolled them again. While he was playing, Xena took hold of the singlet above each shoulder and slowly began to raise it. Each time the boy changed his grip, the singlet rose higher and higher. Before long he was not playing with a pair of nipples hidden by fabric. He had her breasts in his hands, his fingers kneading the beautiful black skin of her tits. In a final gesture she swept the singlet over her head and off. He stopped and just sat there. "Oh, Mom. They are gorgeous." She contemplated saying you should have seen them 20 years ago, but thought better of it. He didn't need her to burst that bubble just now. Her breasts were a generous B cup, perhaps a C. Before she had children they were several inches higher than they were today. Gravity had won. Xena had been sitting on her heels, knees bent. She raised herself to her knees, bringing her breasts closer to the young man's face. "I need you to suck. Now!" Before I burst. Adam leaned forward and latched onto one of his mother's nipples. He felt the hard skin at the end rub against his tongue and the softer skin of her breast against his lips. To steady himself he threw his arms around his mother's waist and drew her into him. He sucked hard, drawing almost half her tit inside his mouth. "Gentle son. The nipple is the most sensitive part. Concentrate on that," she advised. And swap sides. Adam swapped to the other breast and felt the hard skin again. This time he worked the nipple with his tongue, gently pushing it against the roof of his mouth. As he sucked, Xena reached for her ass and felt her panties. Saturated. She slowly rocked side to side, each time spreading her legs a little more. "Remember what I said about anticipation?" The boy nodded, not releasing her tit. "Well, it cuts both ways. Reach in and feel my panties." The boy remembered the lesson about not asking if she was sure. He reached in and put his hand, palm up, between his mother's legs and pressed it against her pussy. "Oh my God. You are so wet." "Yes, son. That is what anticipation can do." Adam removed his wet hand and sat looking at it, not knowing quite what to do. "Don't you want to taste it?" That was enough to shock him out of his stupor. He held his palm to his mouth and licked it clean. Xena collapsed onto the bed, face up. "I need these panties off me now." "Would you like to help?" she asked. The boy immediately turned to look at her. She was waiting, hips in the air, for Adam to reach over and pull her panties off. He didn't need a second invite. He reached to her hips and took hold of each side and pulled. The panties slid to her knees. Xena dropped her ass on the bed and raised her feet to allow her son to finally strip her naked. With the panties now in his hands she spoke. "Throw them in the ensuite. I don't want to wet the carpet." Adam knelt there a moment, holding the panties by each hip. He could see the wet fabric that had been covering his mother's cunt. It weighed the center down, it was so wet. He changed his grip, laying the wet part back into the hand he had put between her legs and peeled them open so he could see the inside where her cunt had just been. It glistened with a thick layer of pussy juice. He thrust his face into his palm, the wettest part of the panties in between, and sucked. Xena could hear her boy slurping up the juices from her hot cunt. Then she heard the sound as he gulped it down. Adam finally threw the panties onto the bathroom floor and returned to his mother. She lay there, legs together, knees raised. "Do you want to see?" "Sure, I want to see. Of course I want to see," he replied eagerly. "Ask nicely. Make me want to show you." "Mom, please show me your pussy." "Not good enough. More words." "Okay. Mommy dearest." Please show me your beautiful, hot, wet, pussy. I've heard better, but that is the first time it has ever started with mommy dearest. You win. With that, Zena slowly and deliberately spread her legs, allowing them to fall apart onto the bed, knees still bent, cunt spread wide. Adam knelt by her feet, awestruck. I just watched you suck the juice out of my panties. How about you lick it out of mommy's pussy? Okay? Adam knew an invitation when he heard it. He lay on his belly and crawled commando style until his face was pushed up into his mother's cunt. He lay licking and exploring with his tongue, occasionally raising his head to catch his breath and get his bearings. He spied her clitoris and sucked on that for a while. When he got back to her hole, she was dripping wet again. She pulled her knees up a little and rolled her anus into his mouth. He pulled back to have a look, then plunged in again, pushing his tongue up her ass as far as he could. She spasmed again and he felt the juice gush out of her cunt again. He slurped it up and swallowed hard. Enough. She cried, dropping her knees, closing off easy access to her cunt. Show me that cock of yours again. Despite the fact that he had his face buried in his mother's cunt for the past 10 minutes, Adam was not fully erect. He rose to his knees between her legs and displayed the fat slug between his legs. Zena opened her legs again so he could see her. Make yourself hard. Show me what you did in the shower that day, she said, inviting her son to jack off while she watched from the bed. Adam took his penis in his right hand and started to pump. She watched as his balls swung back and forward with each stroke. She watched as he smeared his juice down his shaft, making it glisten and shine. She watched as it grew rock hard in his hand. All the while he was looking at her. Not at her pussy, nor at her tits. He was looking her straight in the eyes. When she saw that he was fully erect, she held out her arms and simply said, "I think I need a hug." Adam lowered himself onto his mother and drove his cock deep inside her. He remembered what she said that first night about how she loved it when Dad fucked her deep and hard. Adam dragged himself a little higher and thrust into her deep and hard. He fucked her like this for about 5 minutes. Just the one position, on top, driving down into her. It ended with his second orgasm of the day, his cum filling his mother's juicy cunt. "Oh mom. I know son. I know. You did good." They lay there, not moving. Adam could feel a strange movement inside his mother's pussy. "What are you doing?" "Milking you." "You can do that?" "Yes son. I want all of your juice inside me, so I'm using the muscles inside my vagina to milk it out of you." Zena reached under the pillow and produced a small towel. She pushed it between her legs and under Adam's balls. "Now roll off. You are getting heavy." He rolled away, then immediately leaned over to see his mother's wet pussy. He watched as she squeezed his cum out onto the towel. He had just fucked his mom. That was his cum oozing out of her. Amazing. "Okay young man, how was lesson 1? Adam just grinned. "I'll take that as fucking awesome. Would you like lesson 2 next week?" Adam just kept grinning. "I want an answer." "Yes please mom." "Good, that's better. Now, once you go out that door, I don't want you to start flirting or trying to touch me apart from the occasional hug. You will just give the game away. Okay?" "Yes mom." "Now go and rinse your face and your cock in my bathroom, get your shorts back on, and disappear. I'll clean up in here." Adam was quick to do as he was told. Soon he was ready to slip back out the door. Before he left, Zena came up to him, still naked, and whispered in his ear, "Next week your first orgasm will not be inside me. I'll let you think about that for a week. Now scoot." Adam slowly and quietly unlocked the door and peeked outside. The hall was empty and quiet. He slipped through the door, closed it behind himself, and was gone. Zena looked at the catastrophe that was her bedroom and giggled. She picked up most of the evidence and slipped into the shower to wash away the rest. 5 minutes later she was back into her worn, stained old clothes, and the bed was just how Martin left it. She strolled out to the laundry to stash the cum-stained towel and wet panties low down into the dirty hamper. Zena made herself coffee and sat at the dining table, sipping, thinking. "I just spread my legs and let my boy fuck me ... and I feel absolutely fucking wonderful about it." As she sat there, Sam and Luke emerged from their room. They scurried over to her for a hug. She put one arm around each waist while they both tried their best to strangle her. As they hugged, Zena let her arms drop until she was rubbing both their tiny asses. They stood there for some time. Zena wondered what the kids would think if they knew she had just fucked Adam. The kids wondered what she would think if she knew that Luke had just shot a load of cum up inside his kid sister's tiny cunt. After a while Sam peeled off to get some breakfast. Luke snuggled in close to his mother and whispered in her ear. "Sorry Mom, but I made a mess of my sheets again." "I hid it from Sam." "That's okay son. I'll clean it up in a moment." After Luke left to join Sam at breakfast, Xenia quietly rose from her seat and slipped into the kids' room to change Luke's sheets. She found the puddle, now most dry, and the pair of shorts Luke had intentionally soiled. Before she emerged from the room, Xenia held her son's shorts to her face and breathed in the delicious odor of boycomb once more.